Greetings and salutations, everyone. Actually, you know what? Exhale told me that I'm not supposed to say greetings and salutations anymore because every single time he sees me, he just has greetings and salutations preloaded in his head. So, what's up, nerds? How you guys doing today? Today, we are going to be talking about the Founders Node pre-proposal thing, which was posted earlier in the week, and we've had the entire week to discuss and kick things around and have all sorts of interesting conversations. Very, very deep, very, very mathematically heavy conversations in various channels in Discord and in everywhere else. And today, what we are going to do live is that we are going to be going through a bunch of these proposal modifications that people have submitted, discussing the merits of them, answering a bunch of questions, and generally speaking, just digging in on this. Now, because this is an issue which does concern the entire Founders Node ecosystem, there's definitely, we are airing this in all of the places, but the only place that we're going to be taking questions on it is within the Node Vote forum. So in our Discord we'll use the Discord button at galagames.chat. If you are a node operator, you can join the, actually, I don't know if this is gated based on node ownership. If it's not gated based on node ownership, it probably should be. But join us in conversation in the Node Vote Forum, node-based cumulative lifetime point structure to advance decentralization conversation. Now, you guys, if you watched the Ahead of the Game yesterday, you saw that I went through every single post in the Reddit threads in the node governance proposal thing and knocked out, explained why we didn't do a bunch of those. Explained how some of the ones that are there are brought over in spirit into what this is supposed to be. And yeah, that's basically the conversation that we're having. But what I want to do today is, and this is going to be, I haven't this on the calendar right now for an hour, but it may end up going longer than that. So Paul, I hope you have something to drink, and I hope you didn't schedule anything for after this immediately, because I didn't tell you about this, so I apologize, Paul. Paul says all good. So let's do this, guys. Now, give me just a moment here. I've got these emails that I have brought in from people, and I want to make sure that I redact information as needed from these, because I don't want to I don't want to put anyone's actual name out there. So give me just a second. I meant to do this before the show, but it's well, you know how these things go sometimes. So give me just a moment while I redact these. In the meantime, I've got the node chat up. So how you guys doing in there? Is that a pot shirt? No, it is not a pot shirt. It's got bamboo leaves on it or something. Not pot. Sorry. I wish I was cool enough to wear a pot shirt, but I'm just not. Let's see. I'm gonna make a new layer here. Sorry, guys. I really should have done this in advance. Bad, Jason. Okay, so we got to do that, and then I think that's the only one on this one. Okay, so flatten, save, close. It's always very interesting to me to see the names and emails of things that come in for conversations like this, because, whoa, I need to do the new layer, otherwise that's totally not going to work. Because people have some very interesting names. I always wonder how many email addresses are email addresses that we got when we were 13, and thought some things were super cool, and then we kind of carried them over to being an adult. Okay, everything out of that one. Save, close. $115. Subspace. Yes, this is the right channel for the AMA. You are in the right place, my friend. So no fear there. And where possible, I think we'll do our best to model these things out, because there's a few things that I think people really need to understand that I keep seeing again and again in terms of how this works. Digital. I said the word digital, so thank you, digital, for your message. I'm not going to publish your email address. I hope you don't mind. Okay, that one looks done. New. Almost done. I'm on the last one. So I only got actually 7 emails that came in over this entire proposal, which was a lot less than I thought we would be getting in. So I think that's, there we go. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and put all of these on my screen, and we'll start going through them. My favorite one, though, is a cake. I massively appreciated the cake. Okay. I apologize for this. Give me just a second. Add in a new window capture. Actually, no, I just want a whole freaking screen capture. This, we'll put this on this one. And we will turn off Chrome and Brave. Okay, I think we're about ready. Boom. How's that work? Hopefully you guys can see this. Paul is telling me I need to zoom in a bit more. How's that? Is that okay? Hopefully that looks readable. Again, we're going through massive chunks of text, so this may always not be the best thing. And Ed. Okay, actually, Ed has a very important point. The concept of the... Hold on. Give me just a moment. Need to readjust. We're going to go back to this for just a second. Okay. Ed has a really great point. Ed wants to talk about the... Yes, I do use Brave browser. Ed wants to talk about the bonus expenditure on minting. Okay, now keep in mind this is on minting, not on bridging. Okay, the reason for this is that if you do it on bridging, then you could have a whole bunch of different Smurf accounts, just copycat accounts, and then transfer between them, and then have one account just take the hit again and again and again, which is why it has to be on minting rather than on bridging. But there is a conception at some point here that there's a massive or that the moment that you mint anything, you are completely resetting your bonuses that you have accumulated. That is not the case, and it is a thing that is adjustable, and we will tweak that in the model. I'm totally fine with tweaking that. I think it's a great idea to tweak that a little bit to make it something that works for more of the community. So we'll be tweaking that a little bit. But the key thing is minting does not necessarily reset your bonus down to 0. So very important point. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and dive into these. There we go. These proposal modifications. Hi, Gala team. Thanks for the new node proposal. I have one question regarding the active day count. In my case, I've been running nodes for years, up until the point that the team brought out the function to update the nodes with the command prompt. I have used it to destroy the old VPS and spin up new ones to run my nodes, giving a false day count, etc. Now, keep in mind that this is more of just a question, and I'm answering the question here. With this proposal, it's not necessarily your streak of how many days consecutively you run the nodes, and if you miss a day, it resets. It's not that. What it is it's just every day that you meet the requirements, it tacks on. And so the idea is that everybody will be tacking on to their essentially their bonus point pile every single day. If you don't run a node, just like right now, if you don't run your node for a day, you don't get the distribution. You wouldn't get the distribution. You wouldn't get the bonus points. You would get nothing that day. The ability to get anything in the bonus point, with your bonus points is dependent on your ability to get something with your base point. So if you're not running your node, if you don't get your base point, none of the bonus points apply in that day. And then you just don't get more for that day. You start things back up the next day, and then you continue on going up. So I hope that that answers that question. Okay, so moving on to the next proposal here, and I'll zoom in a little bit more. Okay, reading through the proposal, few thoughts came to mind. I understand the markets are always changing, and I like this proposal to encourage founders node holders from selling constantly. Two items I'd like to see incorporated into a modified vote proposal are below. Only reset the daily reward for outbound transactions. Minting Gala to ETH is okay as long as they don't leave the treasure chest Gala chain or ETH chain of the linked address. That's kind of the smurfing concept that I just talked about, which is why we kind of don't want to do that. Maybe a slight incentive to add Gala to the founder's node address with a 1.525% or less reward I think that's an O2 in days where Gala inbound transaction occurs over, say, 500 Gala. So the reason that we did not do that is because we didn't want there to be a situation where somebody can simply just buy bonus points. And if it's one of those situations, actually, before I go into this, one of the important things here is that we have to design all of this and build all of this as if the worst possible actor is going to be, doing things. So where people can take advantage of things, people absolutely will take advantage of them. We've seen this time and time again. People will send NFTs to each other to try to exploit Townstar. They'll do anything they can to exploit and get something, right? So the idea is you have to build a system in a way that disincentivizes that as much as possible and doesn't leave any weaknesses. In the idea that if you were to have Gala coming into the account over a certain amount and then assigning bonus points, what you would end up with is you'd end up with a situation where you have somebody with X numbers of accounts and they're just sending Gala around between those accounts to buy bonus points every single day. And obviously that would not be fair, and that doesn't increase the stability or strength of the network. So that's not a thing that we would want to support in any way, shape, or form, which is why, again, we didn't include that. You know what I love? I love that I'm talking about all of this and most of the conversations about Brave browser. So let's, I'm going to continue going through these emails. Ed, I will get down to your questions here in a little bit. Yeah, so, but Gingerbread Man has answered the question quite well. Okay, here. And I think I'm going to have to turn myself off here for a second so that we can do this. Give me just a second. Boop. Ha, I'm gone. Thanks in advance for reading my suggestion on the node-based cumulative lifetime point structure for Founders Node Network. First of all, let me say thank you for the amount of work put into prepare, discuss, and review, and improve proposals for votes with the community. This has been a really big thing, guys. You guys have always, I'm looking right at the camera and you can't see me. This is tragic. This is something that we've really tried to do because I know that people have gotten frustrated with the lack of this discussion. So that's why we're having it right now. As I understand, the proposal must solve both ends of the equation to make space for greater decentralization and provide incentives for founders, nodes, owners long term. Addressing both with one vote goes hand in hand with implementing a successful network and lasts a very long time in line with supply-based emission changes from an earlier vote. Yes. To make space for greater decentralization to solve the current proposal, big thank you is in order. Provide incentives for founders, node owners is less obvious with the introduction of a point reduction for minting Gala. Several options can be implemented to mitigate and soften the minting points penalty. A point a node owner accumulates for the Gala distribution must be capped, equivalent to 6 months points. So let me just read the email and then we'll go into this. Make points beyond that cap a number coefficient to discount the point reduction when minting Gala, like a free tier to mint Gala if you have more than a greater number of points. Apply a coefficient, days without minting discount. So D equals, so 1 point, etc. math. Basically, the more you wait, the more you mint. Drip the Gala so that the treasure chest wallet shows a total and mintable amount. I said mineable, but I think it means mintable. Such tiers can be balanced in tiers, just like the supply-based emissions, to accelerate when minting is needed, and vice versa. So I'm going to turn me back on here so I can do the talk to the camera thing. Okay. So couple notes here. A cap. The concept of cap has come up time and time again. Now, I'm going to ask a question in the chat here that I would like to, everybody to answer. In fact, I'm going to thumbs up for you would be okay. So basically the idea is I would like there to be a not necessarily a cap, but the idea that we'll leave it uncapped, and then in 1 year's time, okay, we'll pick a date. That date will be very clearly listed in the proposal that finally goes for vote. In 1 year's time, we will revisit the structure and then potentially have another vote on whether that changes or gets revised. Basically set up a cadence, and I would like this to be a yearly thing anyway, a cadence of looking at this concept of the bonus pool concept, the bonus structure, okay, and then revisiting that yearly, okay? So if you guys would be okay with that, this is one of those situations that if it goes into effect and it doesn't work and nobody likes it, total amount of time it could last is 1 year, and then at which point in time it would be revised and taken down. If people do like it, then it can be tweaked and continued, or so on and so forth. Basically whatever the people decide. Thumbs up for a 1 year revision plan. Thumbs down for no. I don't want this at all. Actually, that's a good idea, Xander. Xander says time should be before a year is up, so like the quarter before, so it doesn't disrupt the structure too much. Okay. So let's do this. Thumbs up for 1 year revision plan to begin discussion in 10 months. Thumbs down for no, I don't want this at all. And then let's just see what people in the chat say. And then if we'll just, obviously it's not going to be something that happens purely based on a random Discord emoji vote. So this is probably still going to go for a vote one way or the other, but I just want to gauge sentiment as we're having this conversation. Ed, Ed777. Okay, dude, I'm going to talk directly to you for a moment here. Normal. Ed, did you watch the thing yesterday where I went through the entire Reddit thread? Okay. You act like this is not a thing that was done. We've gone through the Reddit thread. I've had many conversations with engineers regarding every single proposal on Reddit. I went through every single solitary post from that Reddit thread yesterday. It has not been ignored at all. Okay. It's very disingenuous for you to keep acting like we ignore this. There are other people who would like to say that it was ignored, but it was not ignored. Okay. And in fact, if you go and you look and you actually pay attention, you will see that the most popular elements of things that were included in the bonus pool discussion were brought over and included in this as well. That was not unintentional. That was a very deliberate thing. We are doing our best to integrate what is required and needed for the stability and health of a long-term ecosystem with what people have asked for. Now, that doesn't mean that we took every single idea that somebody asked, okay, about, you need to give bonus points for playing games and bonus points for connecting Discord and bonus points for all of these things. Yeah, a lot of that stuff didn't go through, but that's because, in large part, of the reasons that people mentioned in those comments that, again, had nothing to do with us, okay? Other people within the community, such as yourself, have very well pointed out that some of these things don't apply, therefore they should have nothing to do with founders nodes. That's why we're trying to use this to have a discussion about founders nodes directly and founders nodes rewards only. So please stop acting like we've not been paying attention to these things, because we really have. We really, really have. And that's where this comes from at the end of the day. So, okay. Anyway, on to this. Okay. So I think that covers that. And Ed, I did do lots of that for a long time in the node owners discussion channel. It wasn't just a thing that I did only on that stream, but I did it very, very publicly and on YouTube, so you can see me doing it. It's been in gold. It's been all over the place. It's been places where you are there commenting. So don't act like it wasn't gone over. I didn't do it in detail that much in those places, but a lot of those concepts have been talked about. Anyway, okay. Hi, I would like to make a suggestion on the new Gala Mint system. I propose that the point system should be based on the amount of Gala in the account that was the total lifetime mint versus the total amount of Gala that is withdrawn. I know that for some people, so basically it's the suggestion that your bonus points in this example for operation of your node should be based on what you have or haven't minted lifetime. I get what you're trying to do with that, but the problem is that it starts to skew really badly based on the amount of Gala that people have earned over a set period of time. You would have to have a similar type of logarithmic distribution, which I think would do roughly the same thing. And it would have gone back to far beyond before right now. And that wouldn't be a thing that would be fair to penalize people based on something that they did, like a year, 2 years ago versus today. So whatever it is, it has to start at a certain point, and then essentially that's exactly what's happening, except it's based on node operation instead of a numerical amount of Gala. Okay, let's see. Okay, well, I'm just gonna, you guys in the node channel, straighten Ed out. Go ahead and link messages in Discord if you'd like. Okay, another idea. Instead of having the whole pool based on the point system, propose that the Gala can be divided into tool pools, 1 point based on the pool system, 1 point equally divided for every active node that day. This is an interesting idea, except at that point in time, it's essentially still the same thing. other than the fact that you end up with a shift in, 1 point being worth this in this particular part of the pool versus another point, which is why we didn't go with the pool concept in general, just went with the distribution. So that is a thing that we've discussed because it gets super confusing. I am open to reconsidering that, but I think that this is overall a better proposal and exerts more pressure to bring about the types of changes to the ecosystem that'll be beneficial for everybody. Okay, let's see. This one was my favorite. Okay, I absolutely loved this one. Just for reference, I was in chat, in I think it was Gala. It was either in this chat or Gala Gold where we were going over this, and somebody was complaining, I believe, that they didn't know where to give their comments, and I said, well, we're here talking about this, so let's go ahead and have the conversation about it and make whatever changes need to be made, and then I said you could put it on a cake for all I care. And so they did, and they went and they took a picture. They put it on a cake and took a picture of it. And this is the cake. 6.5 log times n, where n is the number of node runs, plus a set maximum bonus of n times 100. So this is the cap, the concept of the cap, which the reason that, and I'll just go back to normal mode here, and then I'm going to put Discord over here where it's a little easy to see you guys. Okay, so the reason that I don't like the idea of a cap is that what it does is it takes the issue and just simply pushes it forward. Okay, so if you have set behavior at a, that you're incentivizing, okay, and you put a cap on that, then there's a certain point in time where it stops being an incentive. Okay. And if everybody does this, then at X period of time, whatever that number is, you eventually reach a point where it's essentially the same basic thing as you have today, without any sort of longer term change. Now, the way that we can deal with that is rather than trying to add a cap into the math at this point in time, what we'll do is, depending on what people were saying, let me scroll up a little bit. How did that go? So just randomly, it looks like we have 20 thumbs up. There may be some overlap between the various colors of thumbs. I'm not sure, but it doesn't really actually look like it. So cool. Between the 20 thumbs up, 4 thumbs down. So I think that that's a decent concept to integrate in terms of revisiting this. We'll start conversation on it in about 10 months' time, get a little bit more time in there so that we can kick it around a bit. And then basically if everyone's okay with it, then we continue with things as they are. If they're not, then we change it. And if that requires, putting in a cap or something later, then so be it. But if it's something that people absolutely hate, then there's already a cap built in by the fact that we have another pre-scheduled conversation to have on this in the future. So it looks like somebody did say 2 thumbs up. Somebody put 2 thumbs up. I don't know. So let's call it 19 to 4 then. Okay. Render dog. Without base distribution, the term bonus pool becomes misleading. The thing that I've said a few times is we don't want to have a pool, okay? It isn't a pool. It's just a bonus. It's a bonus point on top of your original distribution. Now, that original distribution point is still there, okay? So you have your original point. Let's say you're operating one node. You get your 1 point, and then you get your bonus point. The next day, you get your 1 point, and then you get one more bonus point. And so you always have that base distribution and then the bonus points that calculate the distribution. Okay, so we have dude, Ed, you took like a week of conversation from 2022 and said these are just a few of the messages that nobody has replied to. You took 1 week. Yes, obviously people say things all the time that don't get replied to. Okay, but that doesn't mean that we weren't having conversations about this. Okay, maybe you just missed those conversations. But it's been a thing that has been discussed, and regardless, you can either like sit there and continue to be angry that I didn't reply to your messages in August of last year, or we can have a conversation about this concept now, which is what we're doing. So I'm going to continue moving forward, and we will address this now. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to actually pull up the sheet right now. So give me just a second. Distribution simulation, and let's make some tweaks, guys. Pulling up the sheet right now. Give me just 1 second. And I'm going to go ahead and move Discord back over here so that I can see everything. Sorry, guys. I don't normally swap between this many things at once. So I don't have all the buttons pre-programmed here. Switch over to studio mode. Do no, wrong thing. No, definitely wrong thing. You do not need to see that. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. So we're going to do that. Boom. Okay. So now I have just made a copy of this right now. And let's go ahead and fiddle with some of these numbers. And I want to give a shout out to, oh, who was it? Somebody provided some number tweaks the other day and caught that I had moved a column without, noticing it in the formula. So, and Ed, not a problem, man. I appreciate your passion. I really do. I really want to drive that point home. Like, this is what makes this community so fantastic, is that you guys are so passionate about this, because I'm passionate about this too. I promise you, if I was not passionate about this, I would not be doing this. I would be doing so many other things, but I care about this. I want to see this succeed. And so that's why I'm here doing this with all of you guys. So I appreciate the passion. Okay, let's see here. Now, let's go ahead, and everyone can see this, right? It's coming through correctly. Am I on the right sheet, Paul? Yeah, everyone can see it. Okay, good. Sorry, too many screens. Too many windows on those screens. It's just a lot. Okay. So let's go ahead and play with this. The first thing that people are talking about is the points consumed per 10 Gala mint. Okay, so I currently have this set basically at 1 point per 100 Gala. People seem to feel that that is far too punitive. And in terms of what RenderDog is saying, bonus should be substituted for penalty. It's not actually a penalty. You still get the bonus points. Those points are consumed. You can think of that as a penalty if you want on minting, but that doesn't take away the concept of the bonus. So it's still a bonus. So let's go ahead and tweak this a little bit. And let's go ahead and say that it is, let's go ahead and say that it's 0.1 or 0.01. Okay, so that changes that. Okay, radically increases the number of distribution points. And let's actually go and tweak some of these things. Okay, Elias VM has a question. My question is the raw why of this. Like, yeah, in order to achieve decentralization, but like, actually, I think I can do this, right? Hold on. Let me just, boom. Can you guys see that? Yeah, there we go. So why? In order to achieve decentralization, but why now? What's wrong with things how they are right now? It's really funny. This is a very amusing thing to me because okay, I'm just going to talk about me, Jason, this guy. Putting everything else aside, I pay very, very close attention to the conversations that happen inside of our Discord. I pay very close attention to the conversations that I have when I go out and I meet people. Shadow Knight is in here somewhere. I had a long conversation with him in London in a shed while eating pizza and drinking beer in a legit British pub. That was so much fun, by the way. Having conversations, talking. Smiling Monster was there too. There were a bunch of other people there. I talk to you guys. I listen to you guys. I do everything that I can to take what I hear and turn it into something that is useful. Okay. So a few weeks ago, okay, and in fact, this has always been the case, always, anytime there's been, somebody who has actually day frickin' one when people started buying nodes, people were always asking about the mystery nodes, the nodes that weren't on. Why are there these nodes that aren't on? Whose are they? Blah, 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 blah. People have always had that conversation. And it's not been an issue because none of that's been there. Okay. But then now it is. And then people are like, okay, well, we'll get to that in a second. Ed, basically, the question is how do we create a system that pushes for decentralization? Now, a few weeks ago, when all of these came on, people were screaming. They were very mad about this as a general concept. Okay. So I look at it and I go, okay, well, what can we do to solve this? Okay. What can we do to solve for this specific challenge? And the challenge is irregardless of who is operating anything, how do we achieve a system that is more decentralized than it currently is? Okay. We know that us curating the ecosystem right now, us curating the ecosystem at this point in time, we do receive a part of the distribution. Okay. Now, there are several people who receive large chunks of the distribution. Okay. And, whether or not they're contributing to the ecosystem in the same sense that somebody running one node is that's very much a question that could be debated. If you're running a node on your computer and you've been running that node on your computer, is somebody who is running 100 nodes, are they doing 100 times the work that you are running your one node? Very much open for debate. Now, this idea stems from the idea that right now we have a degree of centralization that I personally am not comfortable with. I would like to achieve a greater degree of decentralization across the entire network. Now, this means one of two things. One, we can either have something that is mandatorily decentralized, which, at that point in time, you're just centralized, enforcing decentralization, which doesn't really work, right? Because then you're not decentralized. You now have a central entity that is enforcing decentralization. So that clearly does not work. The second option is you create a system that applies economic pressure to drive the process of decentralization. Now, we can't do things like KYC. We can't do things because, again, KYC is part of the enforcing decentralization. It is a centralized approach to decentralization, if that makes sense, which it functionally doesn't work. Then the next thing that you can do, okay, is you use this economic pressure, and that's what we're doing. Is it a perfect solution? Absolutely not. I know that it's not. I've been very clear about that. But it is a solution that I believe is a step in the correct direction. And that's why I'm okay with saying, look, let's try this for a set period of time, see what happens, see how it works, see what it looks like, and then go from there. And JDV mentions there on the bottom, I think as long as multi-accounts do not breach terms of service. Okay, so I actually had a conversation with our CLO about this, and we have talked about the idea of adding in something to the terms of service that basically says that if you are running multiple accounts for security purposes, okay, not for the purposes of botting games and things like that. If you're running multiple accounts for security purposes, then something can be added to the terms of service, which again, I don't like terms of service in being applied in this case at all, because again, it's a centralized component, but we are a business entity at this point in time, and it's a thing that we have to do. That's a thing that could be looked at. Now, there will immediately be, and I'm sure that there is going to be somebody who posts it in Discord in just a moment, that says like, well, if you're running multiple accounts, isn't that the same as, one person running 10 accounts? Isn't that the same as one person running one account with 10 nodes in it? I would argue it's not, because what it does is it takes it adds a significant amount of friction to the operation of those 10 nodes, which is part of the pressure that is applied to 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 decentralize. LA Toolman's mom is watching. Hi, LA Toolman's mom. And please don't. Oh God, everyone's now noticed that they're on YouTube. Everyone, it's part of that. And in the case that an account is breached, okay, or somebody loses control of a node, right? Somebody has an account where people have NFTs stolen from them all the freaking time. Okay. In fact, I just had a person send me a post on Twitter just this morning saying that they had clicked on a link and they had, done something stupid, entered their key when they shouldn't. All of that definitely is a, bad thing to happen, and it happens. I would rather have that happen to an account that has one node NFT in it than have it go into an account that has, 100, 1,000. From a security perspective, if you screw that up and you lose control of one node, if you have 100 of them, you're going to realize you screwed up, and you're probably not going to do it 99 more times. That's part of that. Again, is it perfect? No. But does it move in the right direction? Yes. Smurfstorm. Hi, BitBender. Have you seen Wookie's idea of changing the amount of the log to 6.5? What do you think about that? Yes, I think that that's great, and we will put that in the proposal right now. Let me go ahead and put Discord away, and we'll continue with this. In fact, let's go do that right now and see what that looks like. Okay. So let's do bonus points a day. I'm going to yeet that for a second. Five. 6.5. Boom. Boom. There you go. There's 6.5. Doesn't do a whole heck of a lot on the sort of top end of the spectrum, but it does do a bit. And then on the bottom end of the spectrum, it does a little bit more. You're running 2 nodes, brings you up to 1.96 from 1.7. I'm totally fine for that. So that's basically, I'm game. So I will add that in. That will be part of the final proposal. Now, let's go ahead and look at these numbers. So if we do that, that's 1 bonus point per 1,000 Gala minted, I believe is what it was. So how does that impact everybody? Now, again, this will change depending on the number of bonus points that are in the ecosystem. Okay. And actually, hold on. I'm gonna Discord, let go, unpin, back over here. Let's go talk to Ed. Okay, let's see here. Ed has a comment. Under the proposed new system, points would be worth less and less every single day. That's how cumulative works, yes. Let me simplify this for the sake of explanation. Let's say there are 100 nodes and 100 separate people. This on one day, each node would get 1 base point and 1 bonus point, 200 points for that day. Let's say 10,000 Gala will be distributed. Thus, that would be split between 200 points, giving 50 Gala per point. Fast forward 30 days, no one had minted. So now 3,100 points, 10,000 Gala. Each point is now worth 3.225 Gala. Thus, the points are diluted. Yeah. Yes. You get it. Good. If you sell on that day, the next day you would just be your 1 base point. Okay. Now, instead of that point being worth 50 Gala, it's only worth 3.225 Gala. Yes, you understand. Congratulations, Ed. Yes, that's how that works. That is exactly how that works. That's how it's intended to work. That's the point. Then again, that's that cumulative structure, right? So the idea here is that over time, you have the ability to based on how you run this, to have in the incentive to decentralize gets more and more and more applies more and more pressure to the entire ecosystem. And then John, there you go, the OG, that's who it is. Blows my mind that a centralized entity that receives half the distribution penalty free gets to be the only beneficiary of this proposed framework, while the rest of us will be disadvantaged. I don't think that's how it works, man. I really don't think that's how it works. Yes, we receive a portion of the distribution. That is definitely true. That has also always been true. And you will recall, because you've been here for a long time, that we used to receive 75% of the distribution. And then it was put through so that was not the case. That was me that proposed that we move from 75 to 50%. And then you will also recall that if you go back, just about a month and a half, in fact, not a month and a half, almost 2 months now, right? Yeah. 2 months tomorrow, you will recall that we burnt 20 billion Gala, John. So if you would like to have a discussion about who benefits, now please keep in mind that 20 billion Gala goes 50% back to the node operators, okay? It does not come back to us, okay? Can't come back to us. So this is the part of the crux of this, is that we're trying to build an ecosystem that works long-term for everybody, okay? If you run your nodes, you can move your nodes around if you want. You have the ability to sell your nodes. I know that you bought your nodes. You were here before I was, man. I know that you bought your nodes for probably, I don't know, $1,000 a piece, some of them. If not less. So I understand that, you're salty about this, but again, there's the whole point here is to where do we drive the incentive for decentralization, right? How do we achieve that? Now, I'm all for other solutions, which is why we're having this conversation. But at the end of the day, that's got to be part of it, right? And what on our side of the distribution, who do we split it with? How do we get bonus points? Is there going to be an additional bonus for us out of this? Do you see what I'm saying? Again, 20 billion Gala. That's a lot. That's a lot. Okay. Okay, here. Let's see. Whoop. I'll bring this back over here so we can deal with some of these. Glad you're loving the AMA, man. I appreciate that. Ed, my concern is that 1 base point will eventually be worth next to nothing. The new people who've just minted will hardly get anything with their 1 base point. That is true. Again, and there were a few different things that a couple people have mentioned here previously in the chat, and I can scroll up to those. They're based on these assumptions that if you have 100 people all running one node, and that's all there is in the ecosystem, and only one person does something and 99 other people don't, or vice versa, that never happens. That never happens. There's all sorts of behaviors in this ecosystem. Some are going to be going up, some are going to be going down, some are going to mint pretty constantly, some are not going to mint at all, and some are going to mint monthly. People are going to come up with their own cadence that works for them. People are going to run the numbers and see what works, what they're comfortable with. There's going to be endless variations of human behavior in relation to this, which is one of the reasons why, like, when we look at this here, one of the reasons why I have random numbers, okay, that are put in here, because I have no freaking idea what people are going to do. The only thing that we can do that makes sense is to try it and then have a conversation about it. You know, and if 1 year is too long, I don't think it is, you know, then maybe we choose a different number. If it's too short, we go longer. But, you know, I think that 1 year seems to be a decent number to see how this works. It's in line with the cap that people have proposed. You know, and it's a decent, it's basically a decent starting point here. Okay, and let's see. Okay, and yeah, we should stop calling it a bonus pool. It's not a bonus pool. It is bonus distribution points depending on user behavior. Is that a fair statement, Free? Can we say that? What is the value of something that's not freely tradable, mintable? That's a great question. Who knows? But as I mentioned before, there's going to be the NFTs nodes will become NFTs before this gets implemented. That's part of that. That work, I believe, is almost done. I know that they're working on some of the last contract bits, I believe. And I believe they're going to roll it out with Townstar first, just to make sure everything works, and then they'll roll it out for Founders Nodes. So that's going to be a thing. Okay. Andy Crypto wants me to answer a question. When will it be starting point date if approved? I've seen people say they're minting now, but I've heard you say that you want it retroactive. When I say retroactive, I mean retroactive to the day that the concept was announced. It's totally not fair to go back a whole bunch of time, because people will have done all sorts of things. And, you know, you can't penalize somebody for doing something that they didn't know would eventually be counted. It just doesn't make sense. You know, so that's kind of the thing. So I'm guessing, though, there have been a lot of discussion points here. Actually, here, I'm going to do this. Reallocation of the current distro. Yeah. I mean, reallocation of the current distro, or distro weight. Sure, I'm fine with that. Distro weight, we can call it that. Let's see. Should the start date be 1/8? It was announced. To date it passes. 3, date it is implemented. So let's give me some emojis on that, guys. We'll just do it live. We'll ship it to prod. Minting is, I don't think minting is broken now, Ed. Is minting broken, guys? I've heard a couple people mention this, but I don't think minting's actually broken. JDV, can Gala eventually wind down the split over a long-term horizon? I don't actually have a problem with that as an idea. Again, for me, I don't like any sort of centralization. I'm here because I want to see us achieve long-term decentralization. That's the goal. And so I'm fine with the idea of, you know, some sort of gradual wind down. You know, something like that makes total sense to me. It's just like a curated DAO. You mean a DAO that actually does something? Yeah, that's kind of the idea, man. I want this to, I want this to be, something that everyone can participate in as much as possible. And John, I see you typing. I don't mean to call you out, man. I appreciate you, and you know that I like you as a human being. So try not to bring too much heat here, and understand the spirit in which this entire thing is being proposed. Okay. Free. I'm curious, what's the difference between one man with 7,000 nodes on a single wallet versus 7,000 nodes on one wallet? How is one more decentralized than the other? I just went over this a few minutes ago, but I'll do it again. Um, let's say that you have 1,000 nodes or 7,000 nodes. Pick a number, doesn't matter. Bunch of nodes. From any sort of perspective that it comes to integrating with the ecosystem or working with the ecosystem, having that centralization in one single account creates all sorts of issues. The first thing it does is it is a very, very low friction way for a small number of people to influence the ecosystem. So that's, anyone who has more than one node knows that you have the ability to go, and you want to vote, you just drag that slider over to the current number of nodes that you have, and you cast your votes. I don't like that. I think that shouldn't be done that way. I think that votes should happen on a per node basis, and a per account basis. Where, if you have more than one node, I don't have a problem with you having more than one vote, but I think that there needs to be some friction to that. I don't think it should be a, one thing. The next part of this is that if that account is breached and nodes are NFTs, that's a whole bunch of NFTs that can now be, moved off to somewhere else. That, for the security of the ecosystem, is not good. It's not a safe thing to have that way. And so this is why I'd like to have these things decentralized as much as possible. Let's see. I'm sorry, John. I just got an ugh out of you, but it's I get it, man. I get it. I understand. How would you verify it's from one account? In terms of votes right now, I mean, that's the way that the platform is built. I want all of this stuff to happen on chain in the long term. And I want people to be able to submit proposals by burning Gala on chain. I want it to be on chain. That's a huge thing, for me personally. Again, blockchain. That's why we're here. And so while we do things pragmatically, the way that we have to build this ecosystem, the long term is that we need to trend towards that decentralization. What percentage of people own over 500 node accounts? Okay, let's go actually look. Here we go. So this is based on the actual distribution of a specific day. I believe it was like the 31st or something like that, based on the number of nodes that we're running. So there's 3 accounts here with more than 500. I think this one has 500, but some are down. Not sure. But for me, I start to get concerned about there. Okay. I think that it would be a good idea to, or at the very least, like here. Okay. Now, I know that there are people on this stream that are watching this and we're seeing these numbers. But for me personally, I think that applying an incentive to decentralize spreads things out better. Okay, which I think is good in the long run, and over the long term will allow a lot more new people to enter the ecosystem, and that's huge for me. On the AMA, BitBender said that people will do any. Oh, hold on, I forgot. I gotta bring Discord back over. People will do anything to exploit a system, and that will 100% happen. Yep. Are you going to charge people converting nodes to NFTs? I have been told by legal that in the event that this passes, that we need to make it so that people can do that. You would have to pay a gas fee of some sort. but it should be just a basic gas fee as opposed to like some sort of fancy thing where you have to burn a bunch of Gala to do that, simply because there are going to be people who will want to convert their nodes to NFTs, and we can't gate that. Okay, so that, yeah, this doesn't need to be the last step towards decentralization. This is one more step. This is true. There's always going to be one more thing that we can do. And I mean, guys, the thing that this is here, this is, we'll do this for a minute. This is super important to me because I look at this as, this is an experiment, right? This is, and when I say this, okay, this is the entire blockchain space, this whole industry, this whole community that we find ourselves in. This is an experiment. And to me, I look at this like, the founding fathers, right? Trying to figure out, and founding fathers of America. Sorry, I don't mean to be like Americentric there for a second, of the United States. I don't mean to be, anyway, you know what I mean, right? Like working on the Constitution, okay? Having these discussions, having sometimes extremely hard discussions, about, what it's like in this ecosystem, or what it's like in the ecosystem. What are the incentives? What are the disincentives? What are the things that people are worried about? How do we address those concerns? How do we, working as an entity, okay, that's a company, right? It's a company with employees and payroll and all of these things. How do we build something that is going to be in the long term decentralized and to a certain extent like freed, if you will? How do we do these things? We're all of us in the industry, okay, not just at Gala Games, not just at Gala Music, not just at Gala Film. Everyone in the industry, everyone in any of these blockchain projects that you guys see, we are all working towards this long-term goal and this vision of a new future. And it's not easy. It is definitely a difficult thing. It is a process, okay? But it's a process that we have to go through. And that's why we're here having this conversation with you guys. Okay, here, boom. I'm going to bounce back over here. Savor just found the chat. Hey man, how you doing, Sivorg? Please explain why someone will want to run a node after this proposal. Somebody, please answer RenderDog's question. I think there's going to be a lot of people who want to run nodes after this proposal. And some of the big accounts are not shown in the distribution or Excel sheet. Do you know that? If they are not in the distribution or that Excel sheet, then they weren't running at the time. That was just that distribution. They're 100% shown in the distribution if they're in the distribution that day. If they're not running, then they're not in the distribution and therefore weren't in that day's data. Let's see here. Oh, poor XD. Let's see. Let's see, anything here. Oh, XT. Let's go deal with, hold on. I'm gonna scroll. I'm gonna go deal with some of the things that XT was talking about here. Let me see. That's a twitchy eye. Oh man. Somebody could link to his post down there. That would be super, although I'll probably scroll up here to see it first. Okay, here we go. I'm not sure what you're saying here. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, let's talk about this, guys. So here we have splitting up nodes per account, people running nodes arbitrarily for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of days, versus the rest of the community minting on average on day 365. Yeah, if that were to happen, that would be problematic. You're right. However, I don't think that's what would happen. I'm not sure. It's 70. I'm not sure where your 75% uptime is coming from, but you're building a hypothetical situation based on behavior that has not been demonstrated to necessarily be valid. So I'm not sure what to tell you there, man. And in this, these numbers also don't make any sense. Why does this work this way? How does any of this math work, man? That none of that makes sense to me. Anyway, I wasn't wrong in that not making sense, right? But the point is, if I'm happy to talk about things that actually have some sort of basis in reality, or at least some sort of basis that makes sense. You can't just say that, like, well, if one person didn't mint for 10,000 years, then they would control everything. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if somebody didn't mint for 10,000 years, they'd have a lot of points. But again, critical here is that we're talking about revisiting this now in 10 months. So worst case scenario, in 10 months, not 730 days with no minting, blah, 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 blah. I think we would have a very different scenario. If in 365 days we discover that is not the case, and again, these nodes are NFTs, so you will see them move if they move, you will be able to make your own estimations, look at the data, actually see what happened, and then make another decision based on that. It's an example of how you can exploit. You mean by running nodes for a very long time. That's the exploit there. And that's not an exploit, man. It's how the system works. I get it that it's not necessarily a thing that you want to do, but there are people who, if you don't need to take something out of your node, you probably won't. You'll run it for longer. But the thing is there's a lot of people that fall into that category. Okay, a lot. And so I'm not super worried about that as being a major part of this. Is the decentralization issue just with the top two accounts? I don't think so. I think it's with a lot more than that. I think it's with the idea is, at the end of the day, in an optimum scenario, you have 50,000 people running 50,000 nodes on 50,000 machines. That's decentralization. Now, obviously, if people are exploiting that and they're running, a bunch of their nodes on their own in separate accounts, like, is that ideal? No, but is it better than what we have now? Yes, absolutely. Does it introduce friction to prevent people from, taking undue influence over the network? Yeah, it does. It exerts a lot of friction. Does it create a bonus structure that if they're running, nodes and not minting, then yeah, potentially it would. Does that have other knock-on effects for the rest of the ecosystem? Yeah, some of which people will like, some of which they may not. But the point is that we have to try something. We need to move the ball in some direction. Okay, and this is the proposal. This proposal is a proposal that has come from me, okay, for the most part, working with our people on the back end, working with our node team, having incredibly long conversations with some of the members there about how this can work, dealing with lots and lots of mathematics. That's why we're doing this. We have to move it forward. Nobody else has been able to put forth any sort of type of modification or throw this proposal out. Here's a new proposal. None of that has come through. And there's an email there for tweaks on that. So, yeah. XD, yeah, we that's not a thing that can happen, man. They own nodes. Can't just be like, boop, so let's see here. And I mean, not that there's not some merit to that argument, but it's also not a thing that I can make happen. Okay, so I'm having conversations based on stuff that I can make happen. Okay, if there's another path forward for that, then maybe there is, but it's not a thing that I can do. Okay. Is the fact that a lot more nodes may flow from the top node owners to the other node owners a concern? Also, what gives with Townstar nodes, you mentioned them, hard to trade them when we don't know what they have. Oh, what you have yet. Yeah, actually, that's a very good point. That is a thing that hopefully the Townstar team will be updating you guys on shortly. But if they do what the conversations that Skaggs and I have had, and with Nishant and a few members of the team, it's going to be pretty awesome. So I think you guys will like it. And those of you who want to trade them will be able to do so. Yeah, Deb, no. So all buying and selling are penalized. Real nice. No, that just is factually incorrect. So don't say things that are factually incorrect. Okay. Let's see. Anthony, what about leaving the current distro as it is? Could have a cumulative point system, but those points add to your chances of snagging an NFT. So then the question that I have to ask is that enough to encourage decentralization? Is it? So if you were somebody running lots of nodes, are you running lots of nodes for the NFTs? Then is the question. Do you consider that a major point that you would be incentivized to spread things out if you got more NFTs? Do you guys personally? I have not noticed that as being a specific thing that would incentivize large node operators. Excuse me. Um, so while it's a cool idea, I don't think it actually does anything. Because I don't think that it would provide any sort of incentive that would be worth enough of an incentive to incentivize that decentralization. I'm fine doing that on top of this, but that's an entirely separate conversation. Smurfstorm. Smurfstorm, if this passes, what date would this be implemented? It would probably be a couple months. Would be my guess. I don't have an exact date because the exact specifications have not yet been hammered out. But I still don't understand how, if someone is actually running 100 plus nodes, if those nodes deserve to be handicapped for it. So let's talk about that, Anthony. If they're running 100 nodes, okay, what are those nodes running on? Okay, are they running those 100 nodes in an anti-fragile fashion, or are they running those 100 nodes in a AWS instance, or a series of AWS instances all in the same data center? And furthermore, if they're running them in that data center and that data center goes down and those nodes go down, okay, what does that mean for the network? Okay, and if I'm running a node at home, okay, and it has met its uptime requirements, and it doesn't go down, okay, or when it does go down, when it drops, what does that do to the rest of the network? Okay, if I have a node that goes down, one node, it goes down, what does that do to the rest of the network? Almost nothing. If somebody's running a bunch of nodes, or again, people running many, many nodes are likely going to be doing it in sort of like containerized AWS things where they just mass deploy across a bunch of instances. If that data center goes down, it takes down all those nodes with it. That's not good. So the incentive to decentralize should be there. We want these spread out. Now, I recognize that people are going to run some of these things, on VPSs and things like that, and that's not necessarily a problem. But having large concentrations within the same environment, which is something that we, by the way, can't really stop, okay, is not good. That's why that's why I personally believe that there should be some decentralization. BitBender, a red herring is a logical fallacy in which irrelevant information is presented alongside relevant information. Okay, what's your red herring, Render Dog? What's the issue here? Free says, I have a bit of angst for the system when Gala were the ones that created this problem by selling a bunch of nodes. I would feel better if Gala was willing to put up some of their distro on the line too. Kind of feels like we're taking the pain here. Yeah, I totally. What? Gala, the company, needs fewer sellers. Decentralization is a red herring. Decentralization isn't a red herring, man. Decentralization's why we're here. Okay, it's why I'm here. Okay, and to address your point, Free, yeah, there's definitely some of this is a problem that we created by selling lots of nodes. That's not an invalid point. And again, we just burnt 20 billion Gala. 20 billion Gala. I want to drive that point home again. 10 billion of that plus, which will go back to the founders node network. Okay, that's a very important point I would like everybody to remember here. Now, in case anyone is counting, okay, that is significantly more than the amount of Gala that will be distributed over the next year, okay, for this entire thing. Okay, so during that time period, we're still at a significant net negative here. So where's how's that work? Okay. More threes, please, Nips. Build servers like Tomy servers and let us run from that. Dude, we're not building servers. That is more centralization. We're not doing that. Okay, render dog. It's not an issue. Like the selling thing, that's not our focus here, man. The focus is how do we create this ecosystem in a way that is long-term robust and anti-fragile. Okay, I really like the idea that our distribution, our portion of the distribution should decrease over time. That's something that I'd like to put in. If anyone, this is probably a thing that Bene would not like me to say, but that's the thing that I would like to do. So I'm going to see if I can put that in the proposal, or not in this proposal. It'll probably be a second proposal, but I'll put it out there. But yeah. Elias, I think it's Elias. Ever thought of creating a stable coin vault so we can avoid high volatility, reduce selling pressure? I don't think that's a thing we want to do. I don't think we would like to be a bank. Are you still open to the idea of an amount of Gala per node to be minted on a regular basis without penalty, just to cover operational workload? Well, I mean, honestly, that's kind of what the changing the point value there makes that possible, so that you wouldn't be essentially penalized for a lot of things. So you'd be able to mint once per every few days without feeling the hit of that if you were operating, a node. Render dog. Okay. Think it's not in the interest of node holders. That's fine, man. Up or down, whatever it is that you want to do, that's fine. Based on your decentralized goal, if these people were to prove somehow that they were distributed, would you be cool with that? So here's the problem, man. Would I be cool with that? Maybe. But would a decentralized ecosystem be cool with that? Who gets to make the call? Who makes the decision? We have to build this in such a way that the incentives are aligned with the entire rest of the ecosystem, right? So anything that puts me as an arbiter of whether or not something is decentralized is not okay with me, because I should not be the one making those decisions. Okay, neither should any of us. Okay, the idea is you create an ecosystem that pushes in that direction and provides pressure in some way, shape, or form. Now, whether or not that is economic pressure, and maybe this goes up for a vote and it doesn't go through and things just stay exactly as they are, which again, I would like to remind everybody, if that's the case, then I don't want to hear people bitching about centralization at the top of the ecosystem. Okay. Just blows my mind that people complain about one thing. So we're like, oh, great, we have to do a thing that fixes the thing, put together a proposal, and everyone's like, oh, torches, pitchforks, screw you. Well, why did you do that? It's endlessly amusing to me. But my point is that we need to build a system so that it actually pushes in that direction in some way, shape, or form. And that's not always easy to do, but it is a thing that we have to work towards. Let's see. BitBender's phone. My phone. I don't know what it's just over there doing its own thing right now. I'm not paying attention to it, which means I'm not paying attention to Slack or anything else. Mint my Gala to transfer it to centralized server to hold in cold storage. So, Nips, this is one of the things that I think is cool, is that if we were to set this up and you were to be able to move your nodes as NFTs, you could actually have the whole node in cold storage and connect it, which I think is a huge thing. Let's see. What are you? Okay. So there you go. That was one of the governance things. Yeah, but as we said before, we ended up going with not having the bonus pool portion of things because it just simply doesn't work. So we need to do something with that. So yeah. Let's see. Ice cold storage. If we move the NFT, will the distro take the hit? If you move the will the bonus thing take the hit? Well, if you move it's the bonus would go to the account that has the node that is running the node. So you would want to, as soon as you get the NFT, put that into your cold storage, connect that to your Gala account, and then run from there. That's the way that I would do it. Hold on, based on that little vote that people had up here, where did it go? Yeah, everyone seems to want it to start the date it is implemented. So I'm going to put that in the thing as well. So if that's the case, then we'll go from there. Yeah, Para, exactly right. I feel a lot of these doomsdays, what if, miss the fact that we're moving towards a decentralized system where people can submit additional proposals by burning Gala, and where your node, not your cumulative points, are what will matter. Yes. Yes. That's absolutely the case. Okay. So guys, it's been an hour and a half. It's been an hour and a half. No, voting is not already on. That was just some sentiment polls that we were taking here in the chat. So yeah, it's been an hour and a half. I'm going to still be in Discord, dealing with some things, talking to people, chatting. I will get a tweak of the proposal put out as a blog post. It's going to implement a few things. It's going to implement a limited time of effectiveness. So it's essentially going to last for a year. We'll make it a year from implementation. And then we'll begin discussions on what happens next 10 months after implementation. Okay. And just make it from implementation rather than from today, because I'm not entirely sure how long that implementation period is going to take. We're going to change the mint penalty to a lower amount. And we're going to implement the Wookiees different log. He wanted a 6.5 log instead of 5.7. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then we'll go from there. And we'll see what happens, guys. And I personally believe this is what's best. I understand that there are people that don't. I understand that this is rough for some people who operate lots of nodes, and I understand that they are justifiably pissed because they feel that they've supported the ecosystem. But this is the thing that's best for decentralization, which is what we're here for. We're here for games. We're here for decentralization. Those are the main two things. And we have said from day one that we will always do what is best for games, for decentralization. That's at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. And that's what all of you guys are here for too, I hope. So with that, I'm going to sign off for today, and I'll go to normal mode here. And thank you guys all. I appreciate it. And I will see you guys all on the flip side. Peace. BitBender out.